In a small town where everyone knew each other, there lived a family that seemed perfect from the outside. Mark and Sarah had been married for 10 years. They had 2 children, a beautiful home, and a stable life. Mark worked as an accountant at a local firm, while Sarah took care of the household and the children. It seemed like they had everything one could dream of. However, behind this mask of a perfect family lay a completely different reality. Sarah, who always appeared to be a loving and caring wife, had been leading a double life for many years. She began cheating on Mark a few years into their marriage when their relationship started to feel boring and monotonous to her. Her first affair was with a colleague at work, who gave her the attention and passion she felt were missing in her marriage. Sarah was careful, and Mark had no suspicions. She expertly concealed her affairs, using work, trips to visit relatives, and even fitness classes as cover. She also started spending more time on social media, where she met other men. Mark, despite his busy schedule, always tried to be an attentive husband and father. However, in recent times, he began to notice that Sarah was behaving strangely. She started spending more time away from home, often turning off her phone and returning late in the evening. Mark also noticed that she had become more distant and irritable. Initially, Mark dismissed it all as stress and fatigue. He believed that Sarah was simply going through a tough time and needed his support. But with each passing day, his suspicions grew. He began to notice small details that had previously escaped his attention. Unexpected calls that Sarah took in another room, strange bills that came in her name, and her constant desire to be alone. Mark decided he needed to find out what was going on. He started following Sarah, trying not to attract her attention. He noticed that she often met with the same man at a cafe on the outskirts of town. This discovery came as a shock to him. Mark was at a loss for what to do. On one hand, he wanted to know the truth. On the other, he feared it would destroy his life. He decided he had to talk to Sarah and find out what was happening. One evening, after the children had gone to bed, Mark approached Sarah and asked her directly, "Are you cheating on me?" Sarah, who was not expecting such a question, was taken aback. She tried to deny everything, but Mark already knew the truth. He showed her the photographs he had taken while following her. Sarah realized her secret was out and didn't know what to say. She tried to explain her actions, saying she felt lonely and unhappy in the marriage. She told him that her affair with her colleague started as a casual fling but had grown into something more. Mark was devastated. He couldn't believe that the woman he had been married to for so many years could betray him so deeply. He decided he couldn't continue living with her and filed for divorce. Sarah, realizing she had lost everything, tried to win him back, but it was too late. The children, upon learning what had happened, were shocked and upset. They didn't understand how their mother could do such a thing. Their elder son, 15-year-old Tom, began to distance himself from Sarah, while their younger daughter, 10-year-old Lisa, tried to make sense of the situation. Mark tried to support the children, but he himself was struggling to cope with the emotional trauma. Sarah found herself isolated, having lost not only her husband but also the respect of her loved one. Her parents, upon learning of her infidelity, were disappointed and refused to speak to her. Friends who had once admired her family now saw her as a traitor. After the divorce, Mark focused on raising his children and rebuilding his life. He started seeing a psychologist to deal with the emotional trauma. Gradually, he learned to live with the new reality and find joy in simple things. Sarah, left alone, decided she needed to change her life. She quit her job and moved to a different city, hoping to start anew. She began attending psychology and self-discovery classes, trying to understand why she had acted the way she did. Months later, Sarah met a new man who accepted her with all her flaws. He was kind and understanding, and Sarah began to hope for a second chance. However, she understood that she had to be honest with him and tell him about her past. Mark, on the other hand, also started dating a new woman who supported him and helped him move forward. He gradually learned to trust again, but sometimes memories of the betrayal would overwhelm him. Sarah and Mark met to discuss how they could help their children cope with the situation. During the meeting, they began to talk about the past and how their relationship had come to such a conclusion. Mark, though he couldn't fully forgive Sarah, understood that he had to move on and not hold on to the resentment. Sarah, having realized her mistakes, promised that she would work on herself and strive to become a better person. She hoped that over time, she could rebuild her relationship with her children and find her place in the new life. The story of Mark and Sarah is one of betrayal and its consequences. It reminds us of the importance of honesty and loyalty in relationships. Mark, having survived the betrayal, found the strength to move on and build a new life. Sarah, having recognized her errors, had to learn to live with what she had lost. This story is not just about betrayal but also about forgiveness and healing. It shows that even in the most difficult situations, one can find a path to recovery and new opportunities.